not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, well homie keep going. You know the saying, you gon' reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're going to learn a lot about Tint World today. We're going to learn a lot about franchises and everything about the car industry. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the Oz Digital Studio where we film the Boca Raton Shrimp Tank in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. We find the do's and don'ts of running a successful business, and of course from all these amazing entrepreneurs from South Florida. So every week we come to you live on Facebook at Shrimp Tank Boca, and of course you catch us on Instagram at that same handle, at Shrimp Tank Boca, and of course our website. Check out the bio of all of our 160 plus guests. Cannot believe it, 160 episodes. I don't know how that happened. You know, it feels like just a day ago I was at 30 episodes with Kevin, my co-host over here, and now we're at 160 plus. Kevin, how's everything going on your end?
Oh, everything is good. We're rolling right along into the semester. Now is a great time for students with lots of opportunities for them to get involved in some of our entrepreneurial initiatives, as you might call them. We've got the WAVE program applications are open, so if anybody wants to investigate a business idea or new technology or an innovation, R&D, just check something out, investigate. Hey, there might be a good opportunity to start a business or build out a technology. You can get $500. That's right. It's a competitive application process, but we've got quite a few of those, and that's FAU WAVE program. And then, you know, I've got the big bad boot camp coming up, but that doesn't start until the end of September. So if you are a student, faculty, staff, or from the broader community, and you're thinking about starting a business or want help to grow yours and get it off the ground, everybody knows that's the place to go.
And we got to get some students in the shrimp tank itself, right? We're doing this at the FAU College of Business, and we could give you a headset and a microphone, and you could sit in on all these amazing episodes. We don't have as many students actually reaching out to us. So if you're listening right now and you're a student at FAU, reach out to myself, Jason Hill, on LinkedIn, or Kevin Cox. You guys got his email, you know, at fau.edu, of course. Love to have you join us and ask these guys some amazing questions. And I got a good tip for folks. I found this out this week. Cannot believe it. Got the Starbucks right here, right? You get free refills. There's the best advice I gave all week. It's right there, right? Did you know that you get, you know, an iced beverage or a hot beverage or a brew and get a free refill for 50 cents, Kevin?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
So that cup's from 2 weeks ago, I take it, right?
Well, that's my trick. I mean, you're supposed to do it the same session, but due to COVID, they don't really care. Like, you go in at 10 and go back at 3, and you think the barista really cares that you came back 5 hours later and it wasn't the same session? They care less, right?
Oh,
and
boy.
I just found out about this trick, and I think that's going to save my family at least $10,000 a year. I know, I'm not even kidding.
Well, I
not
know.
joking.
I was just about to say, think about how much you're going to save, but then when you get diabetes, I think that's going to be a significant expense. You
Yes.
know, the way you mix all that sugar into those kind of drinks and turn them into like a milkshake over time, that might get you.
I know. I got to go to black coffees, then I'll be okay.
Yeah,
Right?
then you can light it up. That's what I do. Just drink them all day.
Okay, well, let's get into our guests today. We got Charles Bonfiglio. Hope I got that right. Over at Tint World, he's the CEO. He's got over 100 franchise locations throughout the United States. So, Charles, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. Tell us a little bit about Tint World. Start things off.
Oh, well, that's a lot to tell. Tint World started in 1982. It became very popular, one of the first tint shops that came around at that time. It was actually a nice little business, and that's how it started out and evolved over the years from a company-owned few stores into 2007, turned into a franchise system. And I actually bought the company in 2006 and wrote a franchise system, said this would be great. It had 6 company stores at the time. And then I converted to a franchise, and we started awarding franchising and improving the system and growing it, and here we are today.
And how many states are you in currently?
I believe we're over 30 states right now in the U.S., and we're also in a lot of parts of Canada. And we're also in Dubai, in the UAE, as well as in Saudi Arabia. Go figure.
How did that happen? How do you get sucked out?
You know, LinkedIn does a lot of
Dubai?
things. They connect you. You know, I had some guy call me years ago, and that's how Saudi Arabia started. They were looking for an opportunity. They like the American brands, and we're very unique in what we do. And we started talking. Next thing you know, they wanted to buy a master franchise. So it was our first one in Saudi Arabia. A few years later, we did one in Dubai, and that one really is hitting really big. And I believe the guy's ready to open up a second store, but he's like family. You know, we went over there to train them in their own country, and it was amazing how the people there just took to everything that we do here just the same way, sometimes even better.
That's crazy. Kevin, we noticed this a lot. A bunch of our past guests somehow opened up in Dubai. I think Just Salad, the last one, came on, and they just got a knock on the door one day, and they're like, we want Just Salad in Dubai. And he's like, okay, we can make that happen.
Yeah, a lot of money, a lot of business people out that way. It sounds like a lot of opportunity.
We're going to have a shrimp tank in Dubai soon?
Hey, not a bad idea.
Me and Kevin, we're on our first class tickets over to Dubai. Let's do it.
I know a good franchise out there of Tint World that might want to do it for you.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. So the core product that I imagine the company sort of evolved around. I mean, I love it because it's something that we really need down here in South Florida, but it's also something that's relatively simple, but you may not see the manufacturers doing it because everybody has their different preferences, you know. I like mine blacked out, and I remember when I got my newest vehicle, it had nothing. And I mean, I just couldn't believe how much hotter it was at the end of the afternoon when I go down there to jump in my car with absolutely no tint in South Florida. I mean, the inside was dangerously hot. You better not let your skin touch the seat or it's going to light you up. So tell us a little bit about how that kind of started and then when it started to evolve into other auxiliary products and auto to home to commercial and a little bit more about the story.
Well, I guess I'll first talk about the product, and then I'll tell you how the story evolved. And so the product, first of all, it's really come a long way, window film over the years. In 1982, when Tint World started, there really wasn't a lot of tint shops around. It was maybe a couple of guys, maybe in a warehouse, you know, dirty little warehouse, or in the back of a truck, and they would do some jobs. Started to get popular with dealerships. They wanted them to come do them. And that's really where it started. But what happened was the original guy that started it in 1982 was actually a police officer, and his name was Robert, and he was just in a uniform as a cop, and around one of the what were they they were one of those organizations that there's a bunch of guys that talk about helping people in businesses. And they started talking. I said, well, he goes, I want to get my car done. I became a police officer. Now I'm making money. I got a new Lincoln Continental, but I don't want these guys coming around in a truck and getting in my car. I want to go to everybody's place. But there is none. So he says, but I do want it tinted. And that's how it started, where the concept of Tint World came. And then they helped him open his first store.
Wow.
He opened the first store. A couple of months later, people started coming from all over. It got popular. It looked kind of franchisey looking. And then they opened up another store a year later in Coral Springs, and then another store in Pompano Beach. And over the years, he opened up about 6 of his own stores. And in 2006, I decided I wanted to open up a new franchise model, and I thought that these stores were a little run down. There was 6 of them, and I said, this would be a great franchise. It just has to be, expand the product lines, really, and perfect it and improve it to a real business model. And that's how Tint World was born to be a franchise, just by me seeing that concept and calling him up and said, I really want to buy this brand from you, and kind of let them run down. I know them for the years that I've seen them. I brought my car there, but I want to buy it. And he said, why? Why do you want to buy it? I says, what does it matter? I just want to buy them. And he says, well, I'd just like to know. So I said, well, I'm going to buy the system. Rather than start from scratch, I'll buy those 6 stores, and I'll convert them to a franchise, and I'll perfect them. And that's how it started. But that really hasn't how the story started. The story started is me at 21 years old. I came from Brooklyn. I lived with my family, my teenage years.
Kevin, another New Yorker in the shrimp tank. He's getting scared on that end. He knows I get excited when people say New York in the shrimp tank, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I had it from get-go. My father had a clothing factory in Brooklyn, and after junior high school and high school, I would go work with him. I'd learn how to sweep the floors, fix the sewing machines for the ladies that was sewing on them. I learned how to press, pattern make. I did all the things from a business point of view with a family business. And then I graduated high school, and then I opened up my own clothing factory. And then I moved on and I opened up a pizzeria restaurant in addition to the clothing factory. But it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I fell into it because it was there. But during all these years of a teenager, what I did was on the weekends, outside of working for my family, on the weekends, I worked with my friend's older brother in his car stereo shop doing custom stuff. And I really liked that. I never thought about a business of it, but I really liked doing that. So at about 21 years old, I went to my dad. I says, Dad, I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. He says, what do you want to do? I says, I want to go open up a custom car shop. I says, and I want to go to Florida, and I want to open it up with palm trees, and I want to have a motorcycle, and I want to have a nice car, and I want to do cool shit like that. And so he says, I can't stop you. I mean, so I sold my pizzeria, I sold my clothing factory, and I packed 2 suitcases. I sold everything I had, and I just took a one-way flight to Florida, and that was in 1983. And from that point, I came down. I got myself set up with an apartment. I got a little small cheap car just to run. I wanted to keep as much cash as I could in my bank to be able to build my business. But I saw really quickly that I would go talk to landlords to rent the property. They didn't really want to talk to me. They're like, well, car stereo shop? Nah, we don't know if we want that. I said, but I really know what I'm doing. And this, as a young kid, I didn't know what I was doing.
Sure.
So they said, no, I really know what I'm doing. So then they said, well, we just don't really think that's good. So I go to the bank and I say, listen, I have about $30,000 in the bank. I need about $80,000 to do this business. The bank was like, we don't have any kind of loans for that. I says, but why? How do you go into business if you're not going to loan us money? So this is where it started for me. So I says, you know what? I better really learn the ropes down here. So I went and I got a job. At the time, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Sound Advice was a big home stereo and car rodeo player.
Yeah, I remember.
So I went and I figured, let me go to one of the bigger guys. I'll learn where to buy product. I'll learn installers. I'll learn the ropes. And then maybe I'll evolve and get my store open. So now I'm only down to about 6 months doing this, and I'm working there. And I kind of liked it. I was doing pretty good. I learned a lot. But my family called me up. My mom, she says, why don't you come back to New York for the weekend? Your cousin's getting married. There's a wedding. You could see all your cousins for the weekend. So I said, okay, Mom, I'm going to come up. So I flew up to New York, went to the wedding. At the wedding, I ran into 2 of my cousins. And they asked me what I was doing in Florida, and I kind of told them what I just told you. And I said, what are you guys doing? They said, well, we just moved about a year ago. When you moved to Florida, we moved to New Jersey, and we opened up this franchise. I said, a franchise? What the hell is that? They said, well, it's called the Meineke Discount Muffler Franchise. I said, mufflers? Is there any money in that? He goes, yeah, we're doing really well. We're ready to open up our second store. I said, wow. So he says to me, why don't you come after the weekend on Monday, come take a look at our business. I'd like to show it to you. So I said, okay. So after the wedding, I told my dad, why don't you take a ride with me? On that Monday, he took a ride. We went out to New Jersey, and I pulled up, and they had this little muffler shop, a 2-bay gas station with a smiling muffler on it. It says Meineke. It wasn't anything fancy, gravel parking lot, but they were busy. Cars were going in and out. I went inside. I saw my 2 cousins at the counter selling jobs. I was like, that's pretty cool. I said, it wasn't what I wanted, but it's pretty cool.
And back in the day, cars were breaking a lot, right? Not like they are today, where everything stays to 100,000 miles. Back then, it's like every 10, 20,000 miles, something was breaking in a car.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I said, it wasn't really appealing to me, the business, but it was. They seemed happy. So with that, I spent a couple hours there. We went to lunch, and they gave me the business card to the franchise and said, if you're interested, call them. So on the way back, my dad was in the car, and he said, Charles, I really like the idea of this because it gives you a blueprint that you could build a business. Then you could build what you want later, but this is really good for you. So I said, okay, Dad, I'll give him a call. I'll see. I went back to Florida home, and I filled out the paperwork. I sent it in. A couple of weeks later, I got an approval in the mail, snail mail at the time, and it said, you're approved for a franchise, preliminary approval. So I said, wow. I said, I don't know if I even want this, but let me check it out. So I went and I called up the landlord that said no to me on the car stereo and accessory shop. And I said to him, listen, I know you told me no on this other business, but I just got approved for a Meineke franchise. Does that change anything? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, we'll give you an end cap in the building. We'll build it out for you. We'll give you a long lease. I'm like, really? well, why? I'm the same guy. You won't? No, we'll do it for a brand. We want that.
How big was Meineke at the time?
At the time, they had a few hundred stores.
Oh, so they were well known then.
They were about 400 stores at the time. It was early on, but they were pretty big. And so from that point, I still wasn't sure. But then I went to the bank and I spoke to the same girl at the bank, and I said, you told me no on the loan, but what about? I got this letter from Meineke, franchise. We got an SBA loan. We'll lend you. We can get you going. So I didn't even join the franchise, and I was getting everything that said no to me to say yes. And so then I went to my work the next day, and I told my friends, because I figured, okay, maybe they won't like the idea of this Meineke thing. Let's see how it. So I said, guys, I just got approved this letter from a Meineke franchise. I said, what do you think? I said, I've been telling these guys for the months that I'm there, I'm going to open my own business. And they're like, yeah. I show them the letter. All of a sudden, I'll come work for you. I'm like, everything was
brands. Yeah.
Everything wanted to come to the brand. So with that, I felt I really need to, let me go ahead and build at least one of these. I'm going to learn from it. Maybe I'll do something later, but this is it was worth it to do it. So I actually went forward. I built my first franchise. And during that time, my wife was dating me down here before she was my wife. And I started doing well. She started going to college down here and working with me part-time. So I bought a townhouse and we got married about a year after I opened up the store. And then I said to my wife, well, we bought the townhouse. We're doing well. I want to buy like a brand new Corvette like I had in New York before I came down here. She goes, well, Charles, we're doing really good, but if you want that, you might want to open up another store. I go, okay. So a year later, I opened up a second store. And 6 months later, we're doing really well. Bought myself my new convertible Corvette. And then about a year or so later, I go, Jeanette, I really want to learn how to invest into real estate down here. I want to buy my next building and own it rather than lease from it. And I really want to learn how to invest in the stock market. She goes, well, if you want to do that, you better open up another store because that's a different.
I like your wife already. She's like, keep going.
Said, okay.
She's like, 40 hours at home. You're here too much. Go 60, go 80. Keep the money coming.
There was nothing scientific about it. It was just, she said, if you want it, you can get it, but you got to do this. And I'm like, okay. And that's how I just built like the first bunch of stores. And that evolved to buying properties, building my buildings, and evolving. And I really got involved with the franchise. I really was.
What years was this around? So I'm trying to get a timeline.
Well, I started in 1983 when I moved down.
Okay.
So from 83 on up, every few years,
okay.
I wound up building a total of 10 Meineke stores in Florida. And the last bunch of them that I built, I bought the property and built the building. I learned along the way. And then I had a real estate investment because now I'm paying my own real estate off as I'm running the franchise, making money. But at the end, when I would be done and I'd sell the business, I have all this rental income coming in because the properties are paid off. So I learned a lot along the way, and I leveraged franchising. So somebody said earlier that, it's not really being an entrepreneur, being a franchisee. No. That's just one piece of it.
Of course.
If you got to leverage whatever you have to grow, and when you do, if you take the steps along the way, the franchise didn't teach me that real estate. It gave me the tools to understand business and meet people and then go into
I agree.
estate.
So often people jump to always thinking they have to do a startup, or buying a business, not a franchise. But when you buy a franchise, it gives you all the skill sets to then do whatever you want. Who says you can't have a franchise and then open up another business, 2 years later, right? And you figure out what exactly they're doing, why they're good at what they're doing. The banks love franchises. SBA lenders love them as well because there's proof in the pudding, right? They know that if you follow their instructions, like let's say it's a Subway, it's pretty hard not to make revenue, right? And the Shrimp Tank is a franchise too. It's ran in 10 cities. And that Kevin and I, when we started this conversation about starting the Shrimp Tank, we're like, look, they're going to put all the puzzle pieces together for us, and we're going to do our part. It's still a lot of work for any entrepreneur to run a franchise because you still got to do it. You got to wake up every day, early in the morning, get things done. Client complaints come in, all the time on all different types of franchises. And the Shrimp Tank was the same thing. We just had the gear, but we figured it out overnight, and we were 5 years ahead of the curve by joining a franchise. But now, like Kevin could come in here. If he wants to do a different podcast tomorrow, he's ready to rock. If I want to do one, we're ready to rock, right? And the same thing goes for buying any type of franchise, I believe, right? I think, Kevin, would you agree?
Oh yeah, that's something we were talking about a little bit before the show. It's very much entrepreneurship in my book, and it represents a really viable way, especially for people who are younger and lack some of the typical experience. There's a lot of opportunities to grow and learn. And another pro tip, if the listeners were listening there, working in kind of a store, an industry, going to sound advice. I work with students so much, and they're like, I want to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And I kind of try to gauge their experience, their expertise, connections with suppliers, wholesalers, industry norms, industry contacts. And sometimes it's nope. And it's like, okay, well, take a look at this past podcast guest list. Let's find somebody in the industry. Let's have a conversation. Maybe you get a job, or maybe even volunteer. Maybe ask for some mentorship. Whatever it is, you've got to learn about whatever it is, audio systems or franchises or whatever. You got to start somewhere, and starting just by grabbing a lease and saying, I'm going to open a business I know nothing about is oftentimes not an ideal way to start. It's been done too, but it's kind of few and far between, especially if you lack some of the experience. So it's a great strategy, I think.
And I like SBA loans. Right now, the loan rate is amazing. I think people have until the 28th of this month that they're also waiving the 2.5% typical origination fee. Plus, they're paying your loan and loan interest for 6 months straight.
Oh, let me get a plug
wild.
in, right? And if you need help tracking down one of those loans or getting suited with the paperwork, some of the approval processes, you can come right to FAU's SBDC.
Yes.
Now located at Tech Runway and then at SBDC. They've been very busy the past year. But they are there to help you with SBA loans and all other sorts of stuff for free. That's right, folks, for free. Reach out to your local SBDC, and there's one right here on FAU's campus.
So, go a little deeper, I guess, before we take a quick commercial break on just where you are today. Like, what other accessories does Tint World provide? Is it straight tints? Have you layered on other services as well? Kind of go into detail.
Well, in the early days, when Tint World started, before being a franchise, it evolved into doing, auto detailing and a remote start systems and alarm systems in cars, and some car audio, maybe some accessories, but not really to a big degree because most of these stores were a little smaller and they didn't really have a franchise system, let's call it. So as we evolved, we really started to get into a lot more services, and that's supported by distribution and training and marketing to basically make sure customers know who we are, what we do. And so we really do, in a big way, mobile electronics, everything from car audio upgrades to, different types of security systems, remote starts. We do a lot of lighting, interior and exterior car lighting on trucks and cars. We do custom wheels and tire mounting packages, grills, bed covers on trucks. They're very popular. But in the films, we do window tinting, of course, as we always do. And the tint has really advanced from years earlier. Where it is right now, and it really gives a high heat rejection. It really does protect you. And when you put it on a car, not only does it look better, regardless of how dark you choose, it always just gives a better look. And when you go inside, it's so much more comfortable. You really can't believe that you drove a car without tint on it after you put tint on it. So that is a big thing. And then from that point, the films go into paint protection film, which is very big because a lot of these newer cars, they're expensive, they get scratched and stuff. You put paint protection film on these cars and they stay like new forever. They don't scratch easily. If you have to get a little scratch by accident, you can always pull that piece off and put it on. Keep the paint always looking good. Another thing we do
How much does that cost? I haven't done that to any of my cars. Have you? Have you done any paint protection?
No.
I like this.
Yeah,
I'm always getting dinged.
You wrap it like a saran wrap, and
that's awesome.
It's got an exterior hydrophobic coating on it that dirt doesn't stick to it. It falls right off, and it even looks brighter. It's a good stuff. To do a partial kit could be a couple $100. Where you go to a full car, could be a couple of $1,000.
Oh, so it is expensive.
Yeah, but you got to figure if you get some of these more expensive cars, like you won't go to a Ferrari shop or a Lamborghini or any of these high-end cars and see this car not have it on there.
Sure.
Because it's too expensive to paint it.
Yeah.
So you really it's cheaper to do this and protect your car. When you go to trade it in, you'll get full value for it, and it won't cost you much at all because you really have a good protection. Another thing is ceramic coating on cars. It keeps them cleaner. There's no more wax in a car. You'll never wax a car again. You put ceramic coating on once, and that car stays clean 4 times longer because it's hydrophobic. The dirt just falls right off. So there's a lot of really cool new things that are out now.
And you can wrap my car in the Shrimp Tank logo as well, it sounds like,
We
correct?
absolutely can. We
Oh,
can do
nice.
a
Kevin,
nice
bring
design.
he's got a black car. It matches perfect with our color theme over here. Kevin, you going to do it? We're going to wrap your car?
Yeah, we can work out some
Oh, I
type
like
of
the weekend. You
advertising.
got to do
Can we
that.
wrap 'em, Charlie?
What kind of
Can we do it?
advertising you going to get when you're driving around with that shrimp all over your car?
Shrimp Tank FAU, can we
You're
do
gonna have
this?
these all over.
Can we wrap his car? Can we do this on the spot? I'm going to sell you on
course
this. I'm
we
a salesman. His car for free. Shrimp Tank, FAU, Tint World. On his car for
All
free.
right,
We got a sale?
We get what? That's not a sale.
Promo.
That's
It's a promo.
What do I get?
Well, he's driving around with Tint World and FAU in the Shrimp Tank.
Oh, so we're gonna get
As
Tint
seen on the
World on it now.
Oh, yeah, Tint World's on there. That's what the sale was.
All right,
Am I going to leave here with a NASCAR today?
Yes, you
Oh,
are.
yeah. Oh,
There's
you're
shit
good.
all
He's
over
got
it. He's got a black Hyundai Genesis. It's going to look beautiful. We got it, Charlie?
Does
Look
look pretty
nice.
clean.
He's not saying yes yet. We're close.
No, we're getting there. How many franchises are we going to award out?
That's he's running the boot camp
I
in,
could do
on the
this car and your
27th.
car. We're going to
Ooh,
grow some stuff.
We better take
Okay.
a break, man.
we'll get to that on Plead the Fifth, I think. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors, and then I'm going to sell Charlie on doing Kevin's car, of course.
Step into our state-of-the-art innovation lab and create your digital future. Oz uses cutting-edge technology and 22 years of industry knowledge to enhance customer experience through digital innovation in a variety of expertise. Oz is a leading global consulting company whose services and solutions are trusted by startup, midsize, and even Fortune 500 companies. Get to know more about Oz's Salus, a mobile solution bringing us back to max capacity, and their latest solution, Rainmaker, saving insurance companies years of work. To learn more about Oz and their exciting technologies, visit followoz.com. That's FOLLOWOZ.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, you can catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com, or any of your podcast apps. We're on Spotify, Radio, iTunes, wherever you catch your podcast these days. So, Charlie, this segment of the show, it's called Hot or Not. We're going to jump into a subject and go into detail, why it's hot or not for your business. So let's talk about, I talked a lot about in the 90s. So it just came back like hip hop, Biggie Smalls, Brooklyn. Right, so was hip hop hot or not for your business back in the day?
It's hot.
Is it still hot for your business, hip hop?
Yeah,
Does
sure,
it help drive more sales?
Yeah,
and more.
hip hop that's part of the culture in certain areas and people. So yeah, it's definitely hot.
Was that one of the reasons why they didn't want your first business? Maybe, in that location. They're like, okay, you're gonna bring a sound system crew in here, and then it's gonna. Hip hop was huge back in the 80s and 90s, and I just think they might have like, oh, this is gonna. We don't want that rowdiness in the location.
Because all the things that I would have done in that location is what I do with Tint World right now.
Okay.
And landlords are dying to get me in their places. Why? Because they buy property and they build buildings, and if they could put a franchise in there, they get the loans for the property to build that building.
Of course.
And the franchise company, which is me, gets the bank because they like franchises
Of
to
course.
give them SBA loans to our franchisees. So the idea is that it actually opens up a channel of opportunity
Sure.
for the landlord and the franchisee and the franchisor to grow companies with government money that's funded by the SBA.
So is it hot to be by certain other franchises? Have you noticed? Like of course, you go next to a Starbucks, there's a continuous rotation
I think it'd be
of
hotter
higher
if
net
we
worth
go by
individuals,
Hooters.
right?
Yeah, that would be good.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Hey, they almost named our stadium. But,
Did they?
They turned it down.
You got an argument on that one, I bet, by a lot of professors and alumni. I'm assuming.
Yeah, some people weren't necessarily pleased with the reputation of the brand, but it wouldn't have not have been perfect, right? The team is the Owls. Hooters. They were in
Good
a
one. I like that,
discussion
yeah.
for the naming rights, but it didn't,
Hoot,
didn't
hoot.
fall
Yeah.
through. What was I going to ask? Oh, so I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I want to ask you, what is hot? Besides tint, we know it's South Florida, you got to have it, but what is sort of the hottest thing right now, the most popular thing that I may not be aware of, or just in terms of services that you guys offer? What are people consistently coming in for?
You know, I'd say the three most common services that appeals to most anyone is basically window film. It just gets better and better, and the technology's there. Ceramic coating has been very strong. Because you put wax in a car and it's like gone and melted off with the sun in a week. I mean,
Well,
they
the
finally
sun,
got
the rain, the wind, the salt. Yeah.
So
it's,
the car looks clean all the time when you got the ceramic coating. So that's another one. And really, what sets up a car a lot is customized wheels. So people buy them. And you know what? We have a financing program where they come and they sign and drive. They get up to $15,000 credit, and they can just pick what they want and pay it over time. And they have a period to not pay any interest. So that really drives customers to come in and say, you know what, I'm going to buy this. I don't got to pay it all now. I can pay it over time. And you got a really cool car that does all the things you want it to do. It's big that right now. There's no cars. You can't even buy a new car right now. There's nothing available.
Yeah, and used car prices went through the roof, as everybody knows. You don't want to buy one of those right now.
Yeah. So our business model does good through all times. You're selling a lot of new cars, we get a lot of new cars. They're not selling a lot of new cars. You got the older cars coming in to get them, modified and it's a really cool thing. Now, in addition to cars, we also do home window tinting and residential window tinting, and we do almost everything on a boat that we do on a car.
Oh, that's cool.
Except for the wheels.
I didn't realize you did stuff for homes. That's pretty interesting.
Window film on homes and ceramic coating on homes, kitchens, barbecue. It protects from any kind of stains and it keeps it shiny and clean all the time.
Yeah, there's I was looking at that on the website today as well, because we're about to probably need that service. We're actually going to replace the windows, but then probably need them tinted. We've got a couple large windows that face just to the east, and I mean they're big, they're high up, and I mean it's an older house, so there's absolutely nothing on them. So in the summer months, I actually close the hurricane shutters because of the amount of heat that comes through the window makes the AC just have to push too hard. I can see it in the electric bill, and it's like, let me close that.
Well.
And it literally changes my bill by $40 a month, and it makes the living room cooler. It's great to have the light, but it's more like a laser than a light.
Yeah. If you the average home, if you completely window tint the home, you typically would pay for itself within 2 to 3 years with energy savings from your electric bill in Florida. And if you do the whole home, you will be able to get up to a $500 rebate back from FP&L in Florida and other states as well with their electric company.
Oh,
so there's a lot of good
know.
Incentives to do that, but it's something that, after the 2 or 3 years of savings that you paid for the film, you go on forever, saving that electric bill and having a warranty on your film and your windows.
Yeah, not to mention, it's just kind of a nice feature to have.
It really is. It's,
Let's jump into marketing. You're a marketer, I could tell. You talk to a lot of people. You have a big network. But how do you market this brand when you start a new franchise, right? Is it Facebook ads? Is that the hottest for you? Is it good old mailers? Is it good old ribbon cutting ceremony and bringing the mayor in? What's the hottest and what's not the hottest you've learned over all these years?
Most everything you said we do. So first of all, we have a soft grand opening. So we will start waking people up around the community about who we are, what we do with Facebook advertising, banner ads, and stuff like that. Once the store gets staffed properly for a couple of weeks, we'll plan a grand opening, usually within a month or two after it, and we'll ramp up online paid search from Google, Bing, and other sources, referral sources. And with that, the store's already driving revenue and growing from the various things that we've done, but we have a big grand opening. Our grand opening, usually they spend anywhere between $8,000 to $15,000 on their grand opening, and that just wakes the whole area up to know who they are, what they do, and we invite car clubs, we invite our vendors, our promotions, so we really do a big job to get the stores kick-started really quickly.
And what's not hot? You've learned flyers do not work as an example. What have you done? As every marketer has done everything against the wall to see what sticks. So what have you learned just lately is just nope, we're canning those ideas. We tried it, doesn't work. What are they?
Anything that's not trackable.
Okay, so billboards.
Hey,
I won't say completely billboards. It's not the hottest, but I would say newspapers, just,
That's exactly my same mindset. When
I
I work
mean,
with
like, it's just-
entrepreneurs and I work with medium to.
But it's also the kind of services too, because like for cars, they're not going to look like, I wouldn't mind looking in Home Design Magazine and looking to buy window film in a beautiful setting and that thing. So you can do print ads for certain services. It's who the customer you're appealing to. But
So what about influencer marketing and brand ambassadors, right? You got a lot of people that absolutely love cars, right? Especially South Florida. Of course, you see what GoDaddy did on some of their Super Bowl commercials, right? So like, have you jumped into that arena?
Yes, we have a little bit. We have one influencer out in the San Diego area. He's a car guy and it's very popular. We did something with our manufacturer through Supercar Blondie, and she was promoting some of our products.
Awesome.
Not directly for Tint World, but the brands that we were selling. And now we have someone young we just hired in, two young girls that are in my office that are in the marketing department, and they're going to be working with a platform to get some more, because you got to be careful with influence marketing. They're really cool people, but you never know what they're going to say or do.
I agree. Like they're representing themselves most of the time, and then all of a sudden, like they tell the world everything, right? If they're going on, an interview, if they're going, doing something at the Hard Rock Hotel, and you're like, whoa. Tint World was not supposed to be at the Hard Rock Hotel day party today, right? And somehow you're like, they're not used to the corporate setting, when you should speak or should not speak. And sometimes they're telling everything because they have an audience. So
Right.
I agree. It could get
They could get canceled.
Yeah, they can.
There are some platforms out there that you can sign up with. They've been vetted, and people have some compliance, and so there are ways to do it. And we're just dabbling into it a little bit. But we really, I tell you, our customers are our biggest fans, and they post all the stuff we do in their cars. We post everything we do. I have two videographers in my office one's going to grand openings every time we open. The other one's creating all kinds of service videos. So we really do a lot of video marketing. If you haven't seen our YouTube channel, it's really starting to grow now. So
Okay.
we're growing with these different things. And again, we have a really sexy business. You do cool looking things and nice things that enhance your car, your home, your boat. That's really cool. People like it, and they want to talk about it.
Well, I got good news for you. Kevin made me his agent, right? So he's a micro-influencer over here, of course. He's the director at the FU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. So when we get that car wrap, we could talk here. I could see if I could sign you up with Kevin.
All right.
And now all of a sudden he's all around town, and he's representing Tint World, FAU, the Shrimp Tank.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be in business. And Kevin, he knows corporate branding, so he's not going to mess around like some other influencers are. We're going to say the wrong things at the wrong time. We're going to take a quick commercial break, hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump to our Future Focus segment.
Are you having a hard time finding good people? The key to successfully finding top quality candidates is to expand your candidate pool. That's exactly what a virtual hiring event powered by Premier Virtual will do for you. Over 2,500 virtual hiring events later, more than 25,000 companies have connected with over 250,000 job seekers. These events are much more than a resume. Virtual hiring events give your recruiters the ability to meet and pre-screen candidates and decide if they're a good fit. The efficiency and effectiveness of virtual hiring events has reduced time to hire from an average of 30 days to just over 7 days. Premier Virtual has received the top rating for ease of use and customer support on software review sites like G2 and Capterra. We've also been selected a top 100 company to work for in Florida by Florida Trend magazine. Meet our veteran-owned Delray Beach-based company by visiting premiervirtual.com and schedule a free demo to see how you could host your first virtual hiring event within 24 hours. premiervirtual.com. It's time to take your hiring virtual.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Oz Digital Studio where we film the Boca Raton Shrimp Tank, of course, at Shrimp Tank Boca, Facebook Live, 4 p.m. So, Charlie, on this segment, or Charles, on this segment, it is called Future Focus. Most businesses that we have here in the Shrimp Tank, this is the most difficult thing for running their business and scaling their business. So, I guess tell us, how you've pulled this off. How do you hire people for your corporate location? What's the trick? What do you learn that you will not do again? How do you hire?
I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in hiring. I'm just a good people person.
Okay.
And I kind of like to hire people that I kind of like, I trust, and I feel that they get it. So they have to get it, they have to want it, and they have to be capable of doing the job. If any one of those three is not in line, then no matter how much talent they have, it's not going to be any good for me. So, and again, if they have to really want it. So if someone's not showing that they really want to work, they don't see the company that I'm running and the people around me, and they don't see it in that same way. If it's just a job and a number, and I think I can do okay at it, then I don't care who they are. It doesn't work for me. I really want people that really want it, and sometimes they're not the best in the beginning.
Yeah.
But those people that really want it and get it, as long as they get the capability, I'm going to get them there. And a lot of the people who come in are younger, and I train them, and they really become superstars. And that's really how it works. It really is all about that. If you want to have people that grow with you and build the company and feel part of that culture, they've got to get it, want it, and have the ability.
What
to
are some
do
of the red flags that you've picked up on over, all these years? Like if originally you're like, okay, I'll give them a shot, but now it's just a red flag. You've done it in the past, and you just will not go down that path again.
I don't usually hire someone. I've had one or two that I've found where they chit-chat. They gossip, and they talk about things that are not anything good. It's just chit-chat and gossip is not really any place to work with being creative and being collaborative and being proactive and helping other people. I mean, I like to see that. And if they're doing that, they don't have time for the other stuff. Sure. If they're doing the other stuff, they don't have time for that. And that's really important. I've gotten a lot more picky. I'll interview 50 to 80 people before I actually find one that I think may fit. And sometimes, like I just flew a girl down here from Pennsylvania because I liked her so much. And the words she used on her resume, the things she said to me, and she followed up with me, and she seemed like she really was wanting to know the details of it and how she can learn and what opportunity there is for her. When she told me this, I said, let me fly you down. I want you to come and meet the team. Make sure it's a good fit, because I don't want her to fly down and screw up her life. I want to make sure it's a good fit. So she came down here, and now she's just got the job.
That's awesome.
She's moving down in a
And
month.
they ask the right questions. Too often, it's like you're asking them. It's like, why are they not asking me any questions, right? If they were really interested, they'd be asking, right?
I make sure that I ask a lot because I guess I babble a lot about it to try to get to know them.
Okay.
But then I really want to know what they're thinking. So I'll give them the floor, and hopefully they're going to ask me the questions that I'm thinking. I also like to know about their family. Tell me how your family life was. Doesn't matter if it was good or bad. How did they handle it? Who are they? How do they handle and overcome things? Because that's the people you want working for you. They're going to listen. We have a family business. We have a family of franchisees, 100 and more growing. So we have to know that we have to have a good heart when we work with them. It's not about the franchise agreement. It's about how we help them grow. If you don't have the mindset that it's all about getting them the right training, the right marketing, the right support, analyzing what they're doing right, what other stores are doing, we have to focus on them. If they're successful, our company just grows and becomes successful.
Of course. How many people approximately work for your headquarters and then overall for all Tint Worlds? Approximately.
We have about 20, I think it's 21 or 20, 23 people that work for Tint World right now. We just hired 2 more, and then the 1 new girl. So that's 23. And and of that, we only have about 16 or 17 that work in the office, in the corporate headquarters here.
Okay.
The other ones are work in the field. So they're visiting stores, they're
Yeah.
calling stores, and they're in different states. And so that's what they're doing. Their job is to go and do that. And it could be sales training, technical training, vendor accounts, merchandising stores. Their job is to make sure that those stores do well. They get incentivized by their groups of stores that they manage. And so in the whole entire company, I'd say there's over 300.
Okay.
Because every store, there's nearly 100, just about 100 stores open. Each store is going to have between, on the low side, 4, on the high side, 8, employees. So it gets up there. And then we have about another 80 stores under development right now, which will probably open about 30 to 35 stores by the end of this year from now.
And any corporate stores or all franchise?
We don't have any more corporate stores. We're focused on building our franchisees. However, we just bought a location in Deerfield Beach on Federal Highway that we're building a brand new corporate center, and it will be a corporate training center as well as a retail store. And on the second floor, it'll be our corporate headquarters with the marketing department and the operations division and the accounting department.
That's where Kevin's going to park his car.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm right on Car Dealer Row. I'm 2 doors down from where the Tesla's being built.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be a nice building.
Yeah, that's a great location.
Yeah.
And yeah, hiring's hard, especially right now. But you're really smart to cast kind of a broad net, to find the right people wherever they reside. That's why one of the reasons I think one of our partners and past guests, Premier Virtual, is having such success with these virtual job fairs. Because if you're constrained to a specific geographic area, that just makes it even harder. You're not going to see the best applicants that you potentially could that may reside somewhere else currently, but they might be the perfect fit and really passionate or really interested and all the things you're looking for. So we talk to a lot of business owners that struggle with it, and it's tough. It's tough all around.
It's time, because if you want to do a good job, you can't hire by the resume. You got to really speak to people.
Yeah, we just hired here at the center, and we had 178 applications because who doesn't want to work with Dr. Cox, right? So yeah, it's a good job, but yeah, so many of them look so similar. It's like it was easy to get rid of the first 40. And it's just like, wow, why did you send this here? But then after that, they all look pretty good. Some stand out a little bit, but
that's where the time comes in.
That's when you got to start making phone calls and email communications, and it's just really, really time consuming. But got something great. They'll be here on the 20th.
One thing that we started doing is that after we get past the second, we have a first interview and then a second interview. Sometimes that's all it takes, but it's usually up to 3. When we get past the second one, we tell them, one of the things we do is to make sure that we want to treat you right, and we want to make sure that everybody else knows who you are. So we started taking the DISC personality test. So we send them over the DISC test, and when they come back, we can see if they're a D or a C or, they're an I, they're really, who they are. And then it says in the test how they want to be approached, how they want to be treated. They want you to just, I want this done by this date, by this time, or they want to be collaborative with this. So everybody, so I've learned a lot with this. This is something that I didn't think I thought I was good at it. I was terrible about it. But about 3-4 years ago, one of the people in my office said we should do this, and we had someone come in, and they sat with all of us with all these tests. They put us in groups, and I realized, wow, and you know what? I started using it against them. I would say I would learn that you can go to your employee. My girl, that's my senior accounting, and I used to go to in the middle of the day. She's got all these numbers going. I go in, I got a great idea. Let's do this. And she'd almost get annoyed at me. And I'm like, what's wrong with her? And I didn't realize that she doesn't want me to go blurt that up when she's. Yeah. I started to learn to go to her and say, you have a few moments. When you get a chance, I was thinking of doing this. Don't do it now. By the end of the week, come back to me. And she would come back to me a couple of days later with a whole spreadsheet, everything planned out, analyzed. So it's really dealing with the people in the right manner to get the most out of everyone.
I agree. I was listening to a video that talked about that exact situation this week on TikTok. It's talking about introverts and extroverts, right? I'm an extrovert. You're an extrovert. We get going in the morning, and we enjoy the conversations throughout the day, and we come home, we're energized because we had so many conversations. Where the introvert, every conversation, it just keeps lowering them, one stage, right? So by the end of the day, if you talk to them too much, they're drained, right? Yeah. They're not like you and I. So, but, it's just understanding which one they are, and, both could be excellent fits for your organization. It's just a matter of understanding that. And I think a lot of business owners don't. They're like, why isn't that person listening? Why aren't they doing what I say? Why aren't they excited? Why don't they want to do this? It's because we're just built different as humans.
Wow. Right? It's amazing what you can learn from teenagers on TikTok, Jason. Way to go, man.
Well, first of all, news, TikTok is actually a lot of adults. So what happens is a lot of people think that TikTok is just all these teenagers, but what you really got going on is a lot of entrepreneurs are actually on there right now. And they're putting out amazing content, and it's becoming a very educational platform. It's not just people dancing, doing funny crap in a nutshell, but we gotta get you on there.
I'm gonna get on the next one.
You said that about Facebook, Instagram, and now
the next big one though. I'm really gonna do
Owl. There you go. My app that I'm creating, Owl.
I skipped right over Snapchat.
Yeah, I've actually skipped all of them today. Yes. So the next one, though, that's what I've been saying.
Are you going to at least do the one that I'm creating called Owl?
Absolutely.
There we go. That one is a straight conversation that's intellectual. So maybe that's the one, and they pay you for your time.
That's the kind I like. Just tell people what to do.
Yes. I actually invented the app just for Mr. Cox over here, Dr. Cox. We're going to take a quick commercial break, hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump to our Plead the Fifth segment of the show.
Are you ready to make your indelible impression? DeRay & Company is an award-winning, full-service public relations and marketing agency with offices in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Aspen, Colorado. With practice areas in business, real estate, cannabis, nonprofit, legal, and lifestyle, DeRay & Company is fully equipped to help clients reach their goals with strategies that are on point. Whether it's public relations, social media, digital marketing, content development, or other services, DeRay & Company delivers results for business owners that address their business goals and reach their targeted audience. To learn more about DeRay & Company and our services, visit DeRayandCompany.com. DeRayandCompany.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. So, Charles, on this segment of the show, it's called Plead the Fifth. We're going to ask you a question. If you really do not want to answer it, just say, I plead the fifth. Or you got to figure out, how to get around that difficult question, of course. So we were just listening to DeRay & Company. She's a PR firm, and she helps people put out PR nightmares at times. So what was your biggest PR nightmare since opening up Tint World?
It's too close to tell you, but I guess I will. I had someone that worked in my company complain when the pandemic came out that we should not be working at the office. Nobody else had a problem. This girl actually called the news in West Palm Beach.
Ouch.
The news came down to my actual office, but we already had the COVID sign up, do not enter, and we were all inside doing our thing. And we wound up actually hearing the radio, the TV station called us up, said they were coming down, and they wanted an answer to why we're open. So we knew we were an essential business, and we were allowed to do this, but we wanted to make sure we said it right. So we called our PR company. They wrote us a statement. I tweaked it. We went back and forth. By the time they came, I had that statement already written, and when they were in front, filming in the front, she texted me, said, if you don't come back, I'm going to do this thing without you. And I texted her the statement about how we were all compliant and everything, and she just fumbled it up and packed everything and left, and they wound up converting it from being angered at me as to the state, I guess, attorney general not telling who was supposed to do what and when. So my point is that was probably the worst thing, but we were very nimble and actually be able to give a proper response and deal with it in the best way we could through our PR team. That's
so crappy because, you only have the amount of people you said, 15 to 20 people in this headquartered location in Boca. And for a news station during a pandemic to try to rip you guys to pieces, where how could you do that to a small business owner? If that story went live, it was live but online. It didn't go on TV. It went online. But I could tell you a funny one that if you want to hear a really good one. Sure. Okay. Go. Do you ever hear a guy by Help Me Howard? Help Me Howard. This was a guy on the radio station. This is years ago. Okay. And he used to go to all the auto repair shops. And he would go into these auto repair shops and the oil change shops, and they would put cameras on the car and show where they would, damage the car and say the customer needed it, do these different things. So he would get all these shops, and every time he would go in, he'd go and he'd approach the manager of the store and say, why are you doing this? We've got you on camera. And they'd always run and hide. I'm like, why are these people running if you didn't do anything wrong? So they kept on doing it. And it was all over the news for literally 2 years. I'm seeing all these shops doing it. Now I have all these Meineke shops. So I had a customer go and complain to Help Me Howard about that their car was in my shop and that they just felt they didn't need something. This guy came into my store, and I just went right out to him. I talked to him. I said, and I treated him like he was the customer of the customer. I said, let me show. I showed him the job. I showed him the work that was done. I showed him everything that was completed. I said, if you don't want to do anything about it, we have a 100% guarantee. You can take it the way it is. My point is that when I was done, I made a negative situation to where we were all over the news
and Help Me How was saying, this is the way our auto shop should be handling their customers. They explained everything to me, and they gave a money-back guarantee, and the customer wound up being happy after we filmed everything. So that's a good story sometimes that comes out. Sometimes you got to face those things.
I've got one. So tell us another story, but this time about a franchisee, right? Well, maybe like the worst thing one of them tried, or they decided to do something innovative, not in the franchisee handbook, or just a mistake or oversight that it might be bad or funny or entertaining. What have they tried out there?
I got to tell you, our franchisees are pretty good. They reach outside the box a little bit and try new things, but we've been lucky. We have really good franchisees, and they follow the system. Some of them add some flavor to it, but we don't have a lot of negative. Usually we just are straight with our franchisees. If we see after a period of time that they're not doing something right or well, or it's not for them, we just guide them and say, listen, why don't you sell the business if it's not right for you? Because our goal is to help people get into business and be successful. So if there's something going on, we just don't let things happen. We go out and resolve it for them.
All right, one more that might be interesting. You
Go ahead.
seem very much, and Tint World as a whole is very much, hey, we'll take care of the customers, whatever they want to do, But as we know, they're not always right. So what's the most ridiculous thing somebody's done to an automobile that you've seen where you're like, well, we can do that wrap or do those wheels and do that all together, but okay. And it was just something a little bit too far out there.
I guess sometimes they'll come in and they'll want these wheels on their car that won't fit on their car. And
that would be a problem.
Demand us to put them on their car, and they leave. And as they're turning the wheel, it's scrubbing on their fenders, and they love it.
All right. Huh.
Okay, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
That is a tough one. I wasn't prepared for that. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I came out of nowhere, left field on that one. Okay. We'll come back to worst piece of advice. Let's go with what's your most hated competitor?
My hated competitor? That meaning I hate them or they hate me?
Either way, or both.
Both.
I actually don't hate competitors. I use it as a method to figure out how I'm going to do a better job. How I'm going to... It actually fuels me. It gives a little chip on my shoulder for me to grow the company more. So I don't have a hated competitor. And I don't have a lot of competitors.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you have a bigger competitor than you?
Nobody bigger. We're the category leader for sure, and there's not even anybody 10% our size.
Okay, yeah.
So who dislikes you then?
Yeah, someone hates you.
Every little tint guy that runs in a truck or has a warehouse or is on a forum, we're the big guys. We're the ones that take their cheese.
Yeah.
But you know what? I actually been on podcasts for them too, and it actually helps because they know that it's not that way. Every one of our franchises are small business guys just like they are. They just happen to share a common brand name that supports them.
You're like Starbucks, right? At the end of the day, everyone wants to hate on Starbucks.
Well, that's a company.
But everyone goes back to Starbucks, and at the end of the day, they do a good job. And I look at it, in your world, it's like the same thing. The little guy wants to hate on you, but, you do a good job.
It might represent an opportunity for some of them because, they could take what's often on their plate, which is they're trying to figure out how to do web design. They're trying to figure out how to do SEO. They've got to do the maintenance on their own truck. They've got to drive around town. The franchise model may be an opportunity to say, look, if I took all this stuff off of my plate, I could actually, get one of these SBA loans, open a location, manage the store, let the franchisor deal with the headaches and the tech, and I can focus on the core business. That's one of the great things about the franchise model is you don't necessarily have to do absolutely everything. You have a system so you know what you have to do, but you also have support, and there's things you don't have to do,
What you're saying is the way I've thought before I was a franchisor. It's just so logical. But you know what? If somebody doesn't want to be part of a franchise, they've got their own name. It's Joey's Tint Shop. It's Jeff's Costa. They are so proud of their name, however small or big it might be, And there's nothing wrong with that, but those people that typically own these smaller places, they are owner, installer, operator, marketing, sales, and they might make a small amount of money, probably less than they can get.
HR, insurance, advertising. You have to know so many things that it's really impossible to be an expert at all those things, and you can't hire external consultants for all those things, or you wouldn't make any profit. I mean, sometimes it just it doesn't work.
Our model is superiorly bigger than what they have. Their mindset isn't of that I want to build a business and build my team to build my business. Their mindset is I want to go and do it myself, so I don't got to pay anybody, and I want to make as much as I can. So it's just a different mindset. There's very few that actually convert over to a franchise that get it. There's more trying to convert somebody to a franchise when they're not is probably a lot harder than just getting someone who just wants a business model and leverage it to grow.
I mean, just Googling the brand today, the digital footprint, like none of these independent shops could possibly have anything like that unless they had an entire digital team, which would eat up all the profits. And, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be possible.
There's millions of dollars a year we pay every year to get that digital footprint. And every time we grow, another branch of our store adds more value to that footprint.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And you can see it.
piggyback to that then. What was the worst investment in technology that you've done with Tint World, and how much money did you lose from that bad investment within tech? I know we all have these bad tech investments. We're like, let's do this upgraded CRM. Let's build a mobile app. It's going to be amazing.
I built an e-commerce software from the ground up. Actually, about the same time I was building Tint World. I built two companies at one time. While I was running franchise for the Meineke brand, I was building Tint World, and I built an e-commerce dropship automotive parts company. I spent $1.8 million over 5 years in software development, and I actually wound up. It wanted to be that I don't get along with most IT people.
Sure.
Because
Nobody does.
I just
Join the long list of everybody.
I'm just partial to people that are not as technical. I like marketing people, great, because I get it, I understand it. But when they tell you they're doing this and they're not doing that and it's not working the right way, I get frustrated, and I just haven't. I have some technical people that work for me that are really, really good, but when you get the smarter they are and the more unique they are, is the harder it is to control them. They'll literally lock the code down and say, I ain't giving it to you. They don't care about money. They're just very weird, unusual people
broken.
sometimes.
Like it's not really broken. I know. But
the good news is although I spent that $1.8 million, I actually learned so much over that 5 or 6 years that I couldn't have spent that money on any learning otherwise. I learned digital marketing, paid search. I read feeds, back-end development, processes, user interface. I mean, things that I've learned I could not have learned. Now, I didn't lose all the money. I made money along the way.
Okay.
But it was just a very big spent by the $1.8 million I should have been making a couple of $1 million a year by then.
Okay, well, I'm going to make you plead the fifth before we end this episode. What's the worst piece of advice you've gotten from your wife when it comes to your business, Tint World? And if you do not have to answer, you can just say, I plead the fifth, so you go home tonight and sleep.
The worst piece of advice she told me is to give up the e-commerce business when I was halfway into this investment. And it was the best advice.
He said it. Well, you got to go home. It was good advice.
Yeah, I know she's going to love that one.
Okay. If someone came to you to sell this business tomorrow, what would the amount be that you would sell this business for? The numeric amount.
For Tint World?
Yeah. How much? Kevin got to write a check for tomorrow.
If I say it, I will have so many emails in my email box because I'm trying to
well,
get
you can say I plead the fifth.
time.
You don't have to say it.
Yeah, on this one, it's not wise for me to say. I'll plead the fifth on this one.
There we go.
That's a tough one. All right.
Okay, well, we'll be back at headquarters soon with Kevin's car, of course, so you could put the shrimp tank and Tint World and FAU on it. For our audience listening, how do they get in touch, if they want to get involved with yourself? Is it LinkedIn? Is that the best channel? Is it Instagram? And then, of course, like the website, if they want to check out Tint World in the different locations.
So, various different things. If it's a consumer that's interested in Tint World services, of course, you go to the website and find one of our 100 locations throughout the U.S. or Canada. If it's a matter of franchise opportunity, you can go to the website and click on the franchise info link, and you can learn all about Tint World. We have a really good program. So if you just want to learn about it, even if you're not sure if you want to become a franchisee, but if you want to leverage the brand, you can learn about it, and we take you through a program for learning about franchising and specifically our franchise. We have a really good FDD, that's a franchise disclosure document that people can read, and we disclose actual earnings claims, which is very rare in the franchise industry, that's why we sell so many, because they not only love the brand, but they love the profit that it makes. And if you want to get me personally, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm a little bit crazy with some of the stuff I post, but I try to be fun. And I like to show off all my franchisees, cool work that they do and lifestyles that they have and what we're all about.
Well, thanks for coming here to the Shrimp Tank. It's been awesome having you here as a guest. For our audience listening, check out all the episodes that we got up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com, and, of course, Facebook Live every week, Thursday, 4 p.m. at Shrimp Tank Boca. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank, doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks